Welcome back to this episode of the Deep Penetration Podcast. In case you don't know who I am, my name is Danny, and I am a love and self-esteem coach that works with the LGBTQ plus community. I work a lot with gay and bisexual men when it comes to all things self-esteem, self-identity, self-acceptance, and really learning how to navigate and cultivate healthy, sustainable, fulfilling relationships long term. So, if this is your first time joining, make sure you hit the subscribe button so that I can continue to have these conversations with you guys. I think it's something that I think is important. I don't know about you, but I think it's important to have these conversations, unpack these stereotypes, and really kind of try to reframe, I think, some of our mentality that we have within the community itself. If you're returning to the podcast, then welcome back wherever you're returning from. So if you're watching this and listening on YouTube, if you're listening on Spotify, whatever the case may be, welcome and make sure you subscribe. So, what do we usually talk about on this podcast? There are times where we get into deeper subject matter and other times where we kind of cover more so on the surface and we talk about more of relationship dynamics, tips and tricks, recommendations, all of those things. This episode today has to do with the bad boy, right? And why you keep falling for the bad boy. This isn't just a situation that you find in same-sex dating and relationships. Obviously, this is something that you find in heterosexual relationships as well and dating. But specifically to the queer community, I wanted to talk about this because this almost is in line with the other episode that I talked about when it came to the straight boy fantasy and all of those types of things, right? So why is it that you keep falling for the bad boy? And as a love and self-esteem coach, I have seen many men fall for the bad boy stereotype in relationships. The allure of that bad boy can be very strong, but honestly, it often leads to heartbreak and disappointment. And I work with clients who are really struggling when it comes to picking healthy guys and healthy relationships, because the phrase that I hear the most common is, well, the relationship or the person is too boring or it's too predictable. And I understand this in the sense of wanting excitement and adventure in your relationship, but it usually raises a red flag for me as a coach. And the question that I ask my clients, and I'll ask you now, is this: are you really concerned about having a predictable life, or have you grown accustomed to instability? There is a difference, right? So I understand the need for fun and adventure and excitement and all those things in your relationship, but those are things that can be worked on and brought up to your partner as something that is a need or an expectation within the relationship, right? So this requires having open and honest conversation and be willing to put in the work and invest the time and the energy to making that happen. And if you have grown accustomed, but here's the difference. So if you have grown accustomed to instability, there are a couple of possibilities as to why, right? And it's maybe, so let me put it this way. So if you have become accustomed to instability, right, it is possible that one of the reasons is that you are, or it's familiar to you and a bit of a comfort zone. And why? There can be many different reasons for it, right? But a lot of research would point towards an unstable childhood, previous trauma, or a multitude of many failed relationships that have caused you pain and the fear of being vulnerable. Another reason might be self-sabotage or fear of success, right? Which may stem from the need to get validation or to validate a negative self perception, which can be rooted in low self esteem, a fear of failure, or a deep seated belief about unworthiness that you may be carrying around. Another one is emotional escape from pain, right? Instability can be a distraction from emotional pain. Another one may be seeking validation, right? Some people confuse drama and instability with passion and intensity. Regardless, the appeal of the bad boy is can be very strong, right? The bad boy often seems like an exciting and an unpredictable person, a rebel who doesn't play by, society's rules. He may be confident and charming and sexually adventurous, and all of those things make him an attractive prospect if you are seeking a thrill. He might even be straight presenting, which feeds into this fantasy that I talked about in my other episode. But the bad boy often comes with a host of issues as well. He's probably emotionally unavailable, disrespectful, prone to cheating or other harmful behavior. He might struggle with addiction or other issues that make a healthy relationship difficult to sustain. And then the question becomes, why do we fall for the bad boy in the first place? Well, I think there are many reasons why some gay and bisexual men are drawn to the bad boy type. One possible explanation is a desire for excitement and adventure in your life, like I explained earlier, right? The bad boy offers a break from routine and a chance to experience something new and different. Another reason may be a desire to fix or to rescue that guy. Men who struggle with low self esteem or self worth may see that bad boy as a challenge to overcome or a project to fix. And this can lead to an unhealthy dynamic in the relationship where one partner is basically always trying to change the other person. And this is also where we start to get into patterns of anxious attachment styles or codependency. Another one, or one of the last ones, some men may simply be attracted to the bad boy's confidence, right? And his charisma. You may be attracted to that level of like, he knows who he is, he knows his shit, he knows he's attractive, and he gets what he wants. And that may look and that may cause you to overlook certain warning signs or red flags. I often find that we find attractive in other people the things that we want for ourselves. So a perfect example, my biggest insecurity has always been one of my biggest insecurities has always been my body. I've always been a thinner guy. That's just always been the case for me. If you look at me when I was in high school and through college, all of those things, I was a stick. We're talking like 118 pounds skinny. And so whenever I would look at a guy, I would always look for more muscular toned fit men because it's something that I found attractive, because it's something that I wanted for myself. I find men who have lighter color eyes to be super attractive, but it's because I've always wanted lighter color eyes. So there are things that I think that we want and that we strive for, right? I think the normal human condition is to want things that we can't necessarily have. And I don't want to say that's the normal human condition. It's just part of the human condition. So therefore, those are things that you are most likely to find attractive. But because of that, it's possible that you may overlook the red flags because you're enamored with, those particular characteristics or behavioral traits. So the next thing for me is, how do you spot the red flags? And if you find yourself constantly drawn to that kind of, adventurous, exciting, bad boy type of personality, it's important to take a step back and evaluate the situation as objectively as you possibly can, right? So here are some red flags to watch out for. The first one, lack of respect. This is huge for me. So, If he is disrespectful towards you, your beliefs, or your boundaries, if he's critical, if he's dismissive, if he's overly opinionated and doesn't care about your opinions or your thoughts or your beliefs, this lack of respect is a major warning sign that the relationship or the dynamic may not be a healthy one. The second one is unpredictable behavior, right? So that bad boy energy, that person may be unpredictable in his behavior, most likely will be, right? So there might be mood swings, there might be changes in his emotional state, and he may go from hot and cold, leaving you confused and unsure of where you stand. And this unpredictability can be very stressful and lead to emotional turmoil within yourself. The third thing here is resistance to commitment. And it's often that when you meet a guy like this, he is going to be resistant to commitment, making it clear that he's not interested in a long term monogamous relationship. He may have a history of infidelity or a desire to keep his options open, which I've heard a million times before. And this is a major red flag, right? Especially if you are looking for a committed long-term relationship. Now, if you're just looking for a fling and something casual and you're just wanting to, appease some physical needs, that's different, right? I always tell people just be very clear on what it is you need and what it is that you expect. So if you're not looking for a long-term relationship right now and you're just looking to have fun, sure, the bad boy can be fun, right? It can be an adventure. But if you are looking for something long-term, something fulfilling, something sustainable, probably not the best option for you. The fourth thing here is if there are any addictions, right, or other issues similar to that, it's very possible that that person may struggle with addiction, anger issues, or other personal problems that make it difficult to sustain a healthy relationship. He may be unwilling to seek help for those issues, which leads to ongoing problems within a relationship. So if you find that any of these things are present in your current dynamic or your situation, be cognizant of that. Take a step back, reflect, really think about what it is you are doing. And if you haven't experienced that yet, at least now you have some things to look out for. So, how do you break the cycle, right? Breaking the cycle of falling for that bad boy personality type, it can be challenging, but it's not impossible. So here are some steps that you can take, right? So the first one is focus on self-improvement. Instead of seeking validation and self-worth through a relationship or from somebody else, focus on improving yourself, working on building your own personal self-esteem and your love for yourself and setting healthy boundaries and pursuing your own personal passions and interests. When you start to feel good about yourself and when you start to feel confident, you will be less likely to settle for unhealthy relationships, AKA bad boy personality types. The second thing here is trust your gut, right? So if you're feeling unsure or uncomfortable in the dynamic in that relationship, trust your instincts. Don't ignore the warning signs or the red flags just because you are physically attracted to this person or you're attracted to their charm or their charisma. Listen to what your body is telling you. Don't ignore history. If you have a history of dating bad boys, that means you are more likely to attract yourself to that type. As human beings, we're creatures of habit. So your dating picks and the people that you are attracted to are also habitual. So recognizing the pattern to break it is going to be super important and crucial. So those are some of the things that you can take into consideration if you're trying to break that cycle. A lot of dating when it comes to dating, a lot of it has to do with your own personal views of yourself and what you think you deserve. I work with people all the time that have this underlying sense of unworthiness or lack of self-value or lack of self-worth. And because of that, they seek validation externally. And if you have lived a life where you have not felt validated or seen or understood, it is very possible that you have come to know that intimately. And it's become a part of your identity and how you present yourself in the world, even if you're not doing it consciously, which means there is a bit of a confirmation bias there. So when you meet somebody or when you are attracted to somebody, it is very possible that that person that you are attracted to, whether it be because of their physical appearance, their charisma, their behaviors, the way that they present themselves, you are attracting yourself to that person because that person is likely to invalidate you or to dismiss you or to not hear you or to not understand you, which further perpetuates that identity that you have come to believe, right? That you have come to embrace over the years, whether you are doing it again consciously or unconsciously. I am not saying that you are purposely victimizing yourself. I want to be very clear here because I know somebody will jump on that and go, "Oh, you're saying that you're victimizing yourself." No, that's not what I'm saying. Think about what I'm saying. Rewind if you have to, re listen to what I just said. And if this rings true for you or it's something that you haven't thought about, it's something to reflect on. Breaking historical dating patterns is very hard. It's almost like an addiction because you become accustomed to and you become used to a certain type of individual and how things go and all of that stuff. And here's a thought, just a theory. When you go on multiple dates that do not work out and you become disappointed in the dating process, so you say, you know what, fuck it, I'm not doing this anymore. And you pull back, you delete the apps, and then you re-download the apps, and you keep looking for and searching for the same type of person, whether you're doing it, again, consciously or subconsciously. Is it possible that you have come to classically condition yourself to expecting dates to go wrong, which provides some level of predictability and comfort? Because it's almost like you're protecting yourself because you're saying to yourself, look, this date's probably not going to work out. This is not going to go well. It never really does. This person's probably going to end up ghosting me or whatever the case may be. And then when it does, you're like, ha, see, I knew it. There's a level of predictability to that. And when you think about people who have anxiety, stress, all these types of things, there's a need to feel like you have an understanding or control of what's coming down the pipeline. So is it possible that you have cultivated or developed some form of dating anxiety because of the experiences that you've had, but now in some weird twisted way, you are comfortable with that failure because it's something that you know and you know is predictable and you know is probably going to happen? I don't know, just a thought, something that came to my mind. I'm not saying that's the case for you. I'm not saying that's the case for everybody, but it is possible. And it is something that I have found when I am working with and talking to clients who are consistently disappointed with dating, right? All of that to say, it's important that we recognize and we realize certain patterns that are not serving us anymore and finally making the decision to say, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want to date the bad boy, right? If you are lactose intolerant and you drink milk and it gives you the worst doo-doo and gas you've ever had in your entire life, you're going to stop drinking the milk, right? So if the bad boy is giving you doo-doo and anxiety, stop dating the bad boy. I don't know. That's like the best way that I can put that. So again, take a step back. Analyze, reflect. If you find yourself falling for the bad boy consistently, ask yourself the question why, and really look at your historical pattern of dating and see if it's resulted in what your goals are when it comes to long-lasting, sustainable, fulfilling, loving relationships. And if the answer is no, then it's something that we should probably take a look at. If you're struggling with dating, I created a course around dating. It's the 101 of dating for gay and bisexual men. I would highly recommend taking a look at it. Gives you step-by-step breakdown of how to create profiles, how to find the red flags and do all of that stuff. If not, reach out to me. Happy to have a conversation with you. I talk to people all the time and I work with clients all the time that are trying to navigate the treacherous waters of dating. Um, but I think this is important. Love is important. Um, Fulfilling that dream of being in a sustainable long-term relationship is important. So if that is what you're looking for and that is what you want, reach out to me. I have multiple different forms of or ways to communicate with me, right? I have my social media, my TikTok, my Instagram, I have my website, I have the YouTube, I have this podcast. So you can find me online pretty much everywhere. But I will provide my information regardless in the bio of this podcast. I hope you guys found this episode helpful. I hope you found it educational, inspirational, motivational, whatever it is. And please make sure that you are subscribing, like I said, and answer the poll that I attached to this episode. I try to attach a poll to every single episode because I love to have open and candid conversations with you guys. Thanks for sitting down and having a chat with me, and I will see you guys in the next episode.